بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول النبي الكريم. We continue on with the topic of janazah and essentially what to do. And so previously, yesterday we spoke about, or no, sorry, last week um, we spoke about the what happens when someone passes away and how we should uh, allow them to do talqeen or help them to recite the kalima. And thereafter, I mentioned that he should generally close his mouth and close his eyes as well. This is from actually the prophetic practice. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam once came to Abu Salama radiallahu anh, and his eyes were open, and so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam softly he closed them, and he said, "Inna ruha idha qabada atba'ahu al-basar." He says that idha qubida. He says that when the ruh is taken, when the soul is taken, and the eyes they follow. Okay? So, and also the reason why we close the eyes is because this generally doesn't look nice when some of the eyes are open and they've passed away. And at the same time, other reasons are mentioned that it could be that something may go in, something may just some bug or some animal, some insect or something may go in, and so therefore it's better to close the eyes and the mouth and close it shut. And the person who's closing the eyes, if they can, they should say this: Bismillahi wa ala millati Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? That in the name of Allah Ta'ala and in the and in following the religion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? And then they should softly close the eyes. And there's another meaning continuing the dua: Allahumma yassir alayhi amra, that Allah make his affair easy for him. Wa sahil alayhi ma ba'da, also make easy for him what will come after. Wa as'adahu biliqa'ik, and also وَأَسْعِدْهُ بِلِقَائِكَ, and also make him happy by meeting you, right? Make him happy by meeting you. وَجَعَلْ مَا خَرَجَ إِلَيْهِ خَيْرًا مِمَّا خَرَجَ عَنْهُ, and make what he's going to better than what he is leaving. So this is generally, if a person can recite this dua, otherwise just say Bismillah wa ala millati Rasulillah and close the eyes and close the mouth. And as I mentioned, that generally they should be done by the one of the close family members, the father, son, wife, husband, whatever it may be, one of the most closest family members, they should do it. Also, it's recommended to put his body in a natural state. So, for example, put his right hand onto his right side, his left hand onto his left side, and his hands should not be placed on the chest, right, as some disbelievers they do. And so Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he had commanded to put the hands on the side. And also, of course, you should tell the people about it. You should inform the people, so that many people can come for the janazah, and also at the same time, they can do istighfar for him. They can make dua for him. So it's important. But so long as it's not done, so long as the janazah is not delayed unnecessarily, right? We'll talk about janazah salah and so on in a bit. But essentially, the salatul janazah should not be delayed unnecessarily, and it should not be prolonged, right? In the sense, what happens sometimes, for example, they're waiting for some relatives, even though it's close family members, people are still waiting, for example, and they delay the janazah, and they delay the entire process, which is not good, right? On that note, since I brought it up, which inshallah we'll discuss later as well, but essentially, as it comes towards janazah salah, we'll mention it again. But essentially, a person should be buried where they passed away, no matter where that may be. This is very important. Again, a person should be buried where they passed away. And ideally, see, look, nowadays there's this culture of delaying janazah until like the next day, or a time that where some days, for example, or sometimes even they delay until Jumu'ah, for example, and so on and so forth. This is not good, right? You should not delay in the janazah. If a person has passed away, you should do the janazah immediately. If, for example, if someone passes away in the morning, do it the same day if possible, right? And if not, then do it as early as you possibly can. and don't delay unnecessarily. And also at the same time, you don't have to wait for others. And it's not necessary to wait. And at the same time, it's also not good to transport the body, especially when you're transporting overseas. This is something, unfortunately, which is becoming more and more common, but this is not good. The reason being is because I don't know how much of this you all are aware of, but generally when they transport the body, they exhume and they remove some of the organs, for example, they dissect some parts of the body, for example. They do a lot of things that are not supposed to be done to the human body, right? And as I'll mention today, to use water, for example, and the way that you're supposed to use the water, the way that you're supposed to wash the body is supposed to be in a very delicate and soft manner. Why? Because it's mentioned that the mayyit can feel everything that's happening. So now, if a person is doing all of these things, if a person is allowing for that person to be transported overseas and filled with all of these other things and whatever else, this is harmful. Not only is it difficult to watch, but at the same time, it's harmful for that person, right? And you're delaying the janazah unnecessarily, and so on and so forth. So, uh, please don't delay the janazah. At the same time, please do not transport the body, especially overseas, right? If it's such like, for example, not too far away, you have transport, for example, a little bit, that's okay. It's not too bad. But to transport overseas, especially, please avoid that, right? Because of all the complications that come with it and because of all the wrong things that come with it. Many times people, they want to, for example, I want to be buried in next to my relatives or something like that because of that reason. And sometimes even we request it, unfortunately. Sometimes even the mayyit, he requests, or meaning he or she requests it before they pass away, that I want to be buried there. So in that case, well in advance, we should be speaking to our relatives and clarifying this. And for example, there was a conversation. Uh, there was a family that brought me to their house to discuss what steps to do after he passes away. And this is nothing that we should be shy of, like to have a conversation before they pass away to prepare. There's nothing wrong with it. And so this happened a couple of times. Sometimes people call me, sometimes people they ask me to go to their house and so on. And we have that conversation. And it's okay to have that conversation, to prepare. It's okay. And to do what's right, what's wrong, to know what's right, to know what's wrong, and to do what's correct. This is very important. Anyway, that won't take long on this, but this is something that I felt was necessary to bring up. Um, so you should tell the people, but don't delay. At the same time, as I mentioned last week also, you should hasten and fulfill the debts. Any debts that they had, quickly pay off those debts. As we know, the famous incident of the Prophet ﷺ, that he refused to pray Salatul Janazah for Sahabi because that Sahabi owed money. So very important that we pay off our debts. If not, if there are any debts that our deceased relatives leave behind, we should try to pay it off as soon as possible. All right, moving on. All right. فإذا أرادوا غسلا. Now we're going to get into washing the mayyit, right? That if they want to wash the body, وضعوه على سرير. They'll place him on a bed. So generally they have those those washing beds and so on. And there's difference of opinion how they should be put, but most scholars, they say that it's okay, whichever way is easy, place the body in that manner, right? And a few important things. There's a couple of important recommendations here. Number one, that it's important that the one who is washing, there should be someone who is reliable, someone who is good, right? Because what happens is that, as the scholars, they say that he should be able to do the ghusl properly, and he should conceal the faults of the deceased, because this is something which is sensitive, and so therefore he should hide the faults, and he should only speak about the good things that he saw. In a hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Udhkuru mahasina mautakum wa kuffu an musawi'ihim." That remember the good of your dead and don't mention anything bad about them. So this applies to not only later on after they've passed away, but also while washing the body, don't mention anything negative as well. That's the first. The second is that there should be some, when washing the body, there should be some fragrance nearby. That way, the room does not smell, because of course the body emits an odor, right? So it's important to have that. And that way the people who are washing, they should not feel uncomfortable, right? And also it's mentioned that it's recommended to cover the area, the private area, right? It's recommended to cover the private area, and no one should be able to see, right? No one should be able to see that area also. So, for example, it should not be a public washer or anything like that, but rather it should be a concealed room, and it should be done privately. At the same time, you should conceal the the body of the person who's being washed as well. Some according to some narrations, you cover from the navel to the knees for men, or saying, and others they say that you should cover at least the private area that's necessary to cover, and women will cover more. And washing the body is wajib, meaning it's necessary to wash the bodies. Okay? And the scholars they say that the reasoning behind this is that the angels they washed Adam alayhi salam, and at the same time they said to his progeny that this is the sunnah of the dead, meaning this is what you're supposed to do when people pass away. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also washed Sahaba and so on and so forth. Therefore, it's necessary to wash the deceased. Any questions? Okay, moving on. So now he's going to go into about how we should wash the body. وَجَعَلُوا عَلَى عَوْرَتِهِ خِرْقَةً وَنَزَعُوا ثِيَابَهُ وَوَضَّؤُوهُ وَلَا يُمَضْمَضْ وَلَا يُسْتَنْشَقْ. Right? You'll place a covering over the awrah, the private area. So for men, you have the private area. For women, you have a separate private area. Right? So the reason they say that is because it's necessary to cover the awrah in every situation, whether they're alive or they're deceased. And a human being is honored even if they are passed away. Right? And so on this point, they say that therefore it's not permissible for men to wash women and for women to wash men. Right? Meaning it's not permissible for women to wash men who are strangers, but women can wash their own relatives. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to Ali radiallahu anhu, لا تنظر إلى فخذ حي ولا ميت, that you should not look at the thigh. Again, very important hadith. Don't look at the thigh of someone who's alive or passed away. Right? Nowadays, it's very common to wear shorts, whereas people are exposing their thighs, unfortunately. Anyways, khayr, wallahu alam. And so, therefore, either you cover, so according to the more correct opinion, you should cover from the navel to the knees, the awrah. But if necessary, you can expose a little more if necessary. But ideally, leave a cloth on top of that area. All right. Of course, they'll take off the clothes. And the first is that you should do the wudu for that person. Right? Do the wudu for the person, but you'll not put water in the mouth, you'll not put water in the nostrils. Right? Unless they're in the state of janaba. If they were in the state of janaba, meaning of major ritual impurity, then you must wash the mouth and nose. How would you know that? Allah knows best. Maybe the family can tell you. Maybe the family can say that, yeah, this person did not shower after we had relations, for example. But generally, maybe you would not know. But so, if, for example, if the family, if you have relations with the family, then family should let them know. All right. So he says that the reason why you should wash and you should take off the clothes is because when we shower, when we're alive, we also take off our clothes. So similarly, when a person's passed away, you also take off their clothes, and that way you can clean them in an easier manner. And Imam Shafi'i and others, they say that no, you should not take off the clothes, but rather you keep the clothes on, right? Because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was washed with his clothes on, right? So then we say that no, it's not necessary. We say that this was specific to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was, of course, the most respected human being, so it was specific for him. But the rest of us, we would take off the clothes. All right, but of course, cover the private area. ثم يفيضون الماء عليه, then you pour the water over that person. ويجمر سريره وترا, you'll put like fragrance, perfume in that area. ويغلى الماء بالسدر أو بالحرض فإن لم تكن فالماء القراح. If you have some like lote leaves and some saltwort and some other like some things that make essentially what we use nowadays is like soap, essentially, right? But to make the body smell good. And if there's no soap or anything, then just water. ويغسل رأسه ولحيته بالخطم. Also, you should wash his face and his head, the hair on his head and his beard. So obviously shampoo generally, right? ثم يضجع على شق الأيسر, then you place him on his left side. Place the mayyit on the left side, on his left side. فيغسل بالماء والسدر. Then you'll wash the mayyit with water and with low leaves. حتى يرى أن الماء قد وصل إلى ما يلي تحت منه. Right? Until you see that the water reaches from the right side to the bottom of the left side. Okay, so you'll wash in that manner. ثم يضجع على شق الأيمن. Then you'll place him on the right side. فيغسل بالماء حتى يرى أن الماء قد وصل إلى ما يلي تحت منه. Then you'll wash from the left side until you see that the water has reached on the right side. ثم يجلسه ويسند إليه ويسنده إليه. Then you'll make the deceased sit up. The deceased, you make him sit up and put something behind him or something. ويمسح بطنه مسحا رقيقا. And you'll rub his belly softly. فإن خرج منه شيء غسله. If something comes out, then you'll wash it. ولا يعيد غسله. But you will not repeat washing or the ghusl. According to some narrations, they say that you should wash a third time. So we washed twice, right? So once you put them on the left side, you wash the right side until the left side. The second you put them on the right side, the scholars, they say that you should wash from the left side to the right side. And scholars, they say that yes, for a third time also, yes, you should wash. After whatever comes out, you should wash again. According to many scholars, they say this. And then ثم ينشفه في ثوب. Then you'll dry that person in a thawb. ويدرج في أكفانه. Then you'll place that person in their kafan. ويجعل الحنوط على رأسه ولحيته. You'll place hanut, which is basically just different types of scents, good scents, on their head and on their beard. والكافور على مساجده. And also you put some kafur, which is like a camphor or like whatever it's called, and some fragrance also, on the masajid, meaning on the places of sajda. So the forehead, the nose, the hands, the knees, and the feet, and so on. Like, because out of respect that this is the place where he used to do sajda. So therefore you would put special attention and you'd put special fragrance for them. All right. So also it's mentioned that why do we do this specifically for the on the head and the beard and all of these things? Why? Because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he did this, right? He did this with his son Ibrahim alayhi salam radiallahu anhu. Also it's mentioned that you should put some cotton or something, wherever it's necessary, in the ears and the mouth sometimes, if necessary as well. And you can do that to cover it up from anything going inside or anything coming out as well. And generally they close the mouth shut as well. But that's also important. All right. Any questions?
Need to wipe the body for the dry clothes?
Do you need to wipe? Yes. As I said, you should dry the person in cloth. Dry them and then you should put them in the kafan. Okay, let's continue. Now, وَسُنَّةُ أَن يُكَفَّنَ الرَّجُلُ فِي ثَلَاثَةِ أَثْوَابٍ. The sunnah is to enshroud a man in three clothes, right? Izar wa qamis wa lifafa, right? So you have the izar, which is the lower garment, qamis, which is the upper garment, and the lifafa, which is the wrap. Okay, so men will have three. Inshallah, I'll see if I can arrange for the brother here. I'll see if he can make a demonstration, inshallah, for all of this. But maybe when the chapter ends, but I will ask him to come and present this, inshallah. But okay, anyway, so moving on. Three pieces of cloth. فَإِنِ اقْتَصَرُوا عَلَى ثَوْبَيْنِ جَازَ, right? If they just do two pieces of cloth, that's also fine. Meaning the lifafa, which is the wrap, and the izar, which is the lower garment. Right? So meaning if there's no, like, if you're short on clothes, for example, you have less cloth, which alhamdulillah we don't generally. It's okay if you just do the lower garment and the wrap. وإذا أرادوا لف لفافة عليه ابتدأوا بالجانب الأيسر فألقوه عليه ثم بالأيمن. Right, so if they want to, once they decide that they want to wrap that person, then you'll start with the left side. You start with the left side, and then you'll wrap around through the right, for example. فإن خافوا أن ينتشر الكفن عنه عقدوه. Right. So basically, you'll just wrap the person like that. You'll place them on their left side, and then go towards the right, and then wrap that person up, however that is. Generally, for example, what they do here generally is that they take a couple people, they help raise the mayyit, and then they put the cloth down, and then they the left side and then the right side, for example, and that's how they generally do it. And so, فإن خافوا أن ينتشر الكفن عنه عقدوه. If they fear that the kafan may come apart, then they should tie the kafan as well. They should tie the kafan after doing it. Right? Right. Okay, any questions?
Could that kafan be necessarily white? I didn't mention anything with the white or the
Yes, generally it should be white. That's just it's recommendation. Okay, he says in a hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says that أحب الثياب إلى الله البيض, right? That the most beloved clothes or the color of clothes in the sight of Allah Ta'ala is the white clothes. فيلبسها أحياؤكم وكفنوا فيها موتاكم. So the people who are alive should wear it, and also you should make your deceased also the color of their kafan to be white as well.
What should be the dimension of the?
It should be whatever is lengthy enough to cover, right? They haven't mentioned how long it should be, but essentially whatever will cover. Right? It should be long enough to cover.
people saving their ihram clothes
Yeah.
the
Yeah, that's also fine. Some people they save their ihram and they want to be wrapped in their ihram. There's nothing wrong with it. Right? For example, even in there are many examples of this. It is permissible. Any other questions? So he says that now how do you do kafan of a man? And tabsut al-lifafa tulan is that you would place out the lifafa, right? Which is the wrap, right? You place that on the bottom, and then ثم يبسط عليها الإزار. Then you place the izar on top of that. ثم يقمص الميت. Then you put the qamis on the mayyit. ويوضع على الإزار مقمصا. And then you'll put على الإزار مقمصا. Then you'll place on top of the izar the qamis. ثم يعطف الإزار من شق الأيسر على رأسه وسائر جسده. Then you'll cover the izar from his left side over his head and over the entire body. ثم يعطف من قبل الشق الأيمن كذلك. And then you'll place the right side, you'll cover all over. ثم اللفافة يعطف بعد ذلك كذلك. And thereafter that, you will cover with the lifafa or the wrap, whatever is remaining, كذلك ويشد. And then it should be closed and locked, meaning tied up. And that would be the procedure of the kafan. This is specifically for the men. Right. وتكفن المرأة في 5 أثواب. That woman will be, their kafan will be in 5 clothes. إزار وقميص وخمار وخرقة تربط بها ثدياها. Right. That she'll have the same as the men, the 3 same as men. إزار قميص, but she'll also have a khimar, which is for her face and for her head, and another piece of cloth that will be over her chest area, lifafa. And of course, as I mentioned, the same as the men, lifafa. The wrap. If they suffice only on 3, they only use 3 pieces of cloth, that would be okay. Meaning that would be permissible if they are running short, but inshallah this doesn't happen generally. ويكون الخمار فوق القميص تحت اللفافة. And the way to do it, what's different, is that the khimar, the face and head covering, will be on top of the qamis. So you'll have the qamis over, and then the khimar will be on top of that. But it will be under the lifafa, meaning the lifafa will go on top of even the khimar. ويجعل شعرها على صدرها. And you'll try to braid or plait the hair and place it on her chest. And that's how a woman should be buried as well, or her kafan should be. ولا يسرح شعر الميت ولا لحيته. That the hair and the beard of the mayyit should not be combed. ولا يقص ظفره. You should not cut the nails. ولا يقص شعره. You should not cut the hair. وتجمر الأكفان قبل أن يدرج فيها وترا. And you should generally put some good smelling things on the kafans before you place the person inside. Meaning you want to make the kafan smell good. You want to avoid any type of decay. فإذا فرغوا منه صلوا عليه. Once they finish washing, then they should go and pray on the deceased. Okay, and we'll stop here, inshallah. But essentially, this salah is, of course, fard kifaya, must be done, right? Meaning it's necessary that some people should do it. If some people do it, then it absolves everyone else from doing it. But if some people don't do it, then the entire community will be held responsible. Why they did not do this? And so this happens sometimes, by the way, right? That unfortunately in our areas, that we find sometimes people they don't have Muslim relatives, for example. In that case, their non-Muslim relatives, they bury them without permission, and this had happened actually even in our communities a couple of times. And so therefore, if possible, the Muslim community should request that please allow us to wash, and please allow us to, we'll take care of that responsibility, because it's fard kifaya, it's our obligation, we must do it. So therefore, we should ask for it. We should ask for that responsibility, and then cover the cost, obviously, and either do it ourselves or cover the cost for someone else to do it. At the same time, if they don't allow us to wash the body, at the very least, as I said, washing is wajib, right? If that's missed, okay, that's one that we missed. But salah is another fard, right? It's a fard kifaya. So therefore, if not before the burial, if they don't allow, sometimes they do not allow. If they do allow it, take that opportunity and pray the Salatul Janazah. Even if it's in some uncomfortable way, but do it. Pray the Salatul Janazah. And if that's not possible, then even go to the grave of the deceased and pray the Salatul Janazah there. At the very least, we should do that there. Okay? So as I said, this is a fard kifaya, and we must do this. Okay, we'll stop here. Any questions? Okay. All right. Inshallah. Jazakumullah khairah. May Allah Ta'ala allow us to die in a situation that Allah Ta'ala is happy.